All right, folks, we're going to give folks just another minute to get logged on before we get started. Thanks for your patience. All right, it looks like things have stabilized. Let's see, before we get started, we do have in-language interpretation available today. I'll have Tiffany will go over the instructions shortly. There was a little miscommunication and we weren't able to get a Spanish or ASL interpreter on the meeting this morning, but we do have a Vietnamese interpreter with us today. And unfortunately, with some limitations for Zoom, it's noted as English to Chinese, but note that they are Vietnamese interpretation that will be happening today. So Tiffany, I'll kick it over to you.
All right, thank you, Raquel. So once again, everybody, we apologize for the miscommunication that is happening right now. Again, if you are needing a Vietnamese interpretation, if you are accessing Zoom from a computer, please click the globe icon located at the bottom of the screen. And then choose a Vietnamese/Chinese. If you're accessing Zoom from a smartphone, please click the 3 dots /more on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Choose language interpretation, choose English or Vietnamese/Chinese, and then press down on the top right-hand of the screen.
Dạ, xin chào quý vị. Dạ, đây là phiên dịch tiếng Việt. Đối với những quý vị mà cần cái sự hỗ trợ về phiên dịch thì quý vị xin vui lòng bấm lựa chọn cái quả địa cầu, sau đó lựa chọn là tiếng Việt, là Vietnamese. Thì mình nhớ là nếu mà quý vị tham gia cái cuộc gọi Zoom này qua điện thoại, quý vị có thể bấm vào cái chỗ có 3 cái dấu chấm có chữ More, rồi sau đó mình lựa chọn cái phần là phiên dịch ngôn ngữ là language interpretation, thì quý vị sẽ chọn ngôn ngữ tiếng Việt nha. Mình sẽ để cái thông tin trong một chat.
Here, I'll go ahead and start the Vietnamese language interpretation channel. Okay, Tiffany, that's been started, so we can go ahead and move forward.
Thank you for that, Raquel. Next slide, please. And good morning, and thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Tiffany Nguyen, and I am one of the staff leads for the Driving Clean Assistance Program, also known as DCAP, and what was previously known as the Joint Statewide Clean Cars for All and Financing Assistance Program. I am joined today by Erin Hilliard and Raquel Cardenas, who will be co-managing this effort alongside with the Community Housing Development Corporation, who is the administrator for this program. We are here today to discuss some initial thinking around the upcoming rollout of the DCAP program. Here's a few details before we start. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on our meetings and workshops webpage in about 2 weeks, along with the attendee list. All meeting materials like the agenda and slides can be found on that webpage. Staff will put this link in the Zoom chat. They are currently undergoing some ADA remediation and will be up soon. However, we do currently already have a copy of this presentation, so I do want to let folks know that please recircle back if you do need slides that are accessible. To ask questions or make a comment, please use the Zoom's raised hand feature. If there are disruptions or misuse of Zoom, we will reschedule and notify you immediately. For security, we will need your names visible on Zoom. If you have called in, we will identify you by the last 4 digits of your phone number when you raised your hand. Next slide, please. Today, we will start with the program eligibility criteria before transitioning over to the proposed program rollout plan, which will be headed by Virgil Looney from the Community Housing Development Corporation, who will be administering DCAP. We will then move over to the Assembly Bill 630 report, which sets metrics and goals for all CC4A implementing entities before closing out with the discussion and next steps. Next slide, please. And with that, we'll go ahead and start with some background information to set the stage for today. Next slide. To provide a broad overview of the available incentives that DCAP will provide, a low-income consumer at or below 300% of the federal poverty level, which is currently at $93,600 for a family of 4, and will be updated annually, will be able to enter the program with or without an old vehicle to scrap. For consumers with a vehicle to scrap and for who does not live in a disadvantaged community as identified by Calendaro screen, they will be eligible to receive a maximum incentive of $10,000 plus a $2,000 charge card or a $7,500 mobility option for those who do not wish to purchase or lease a replacement vehicle. Similarly, for eligible consumers living in a disadvantaged community, a maximum incentive of $12,000 plus a $2,000 charge card or a $7,500 mobility option for those who do not wish to purchase or lease a replacement vehicle. For consumers who do not have a vehicle to scrap but will need support in purchasing a cleaner vehicle, they will be eligible for a vehicle purchase grant of up to $7,500 plus a $2,000 charge card incentive. For all 3 scenarios, consumers needing an affordable loan will have access to low interest rate loans capped at 8% APR through DCAP. Next slide, please. Moving along to the program requirements and eligibility criteria, please do keep in mind that these were developed from pre-existing criteria from other CARB light-duty incentive programs. Consumers may only apply for 1 incentive per household for the lifetime of the program and must not have had previously participated in any of CARB's light-duty purchase incentives, which includes the Clean Vehicle Rebate Project or CVRP, District Clean Cars for All programs, and statewide and or regional financing assistance pilots. This is done in an effort to prioritize funding for consumers who have not had the chance to participate in one of our programs previously. Participants must have a household income of less than or equal to 300% of the federal poverty level, which is $93,600 for a 4-person household. Income will be verified through a variety of documentation, and the process will align with other CARB and Air District programs where applicable. Additionally, participants must be a resident of California and must apply to the DCAP program before purchasing a vehicle, as this incentive is not retroactive. Next slide, please. Participants will be required to partake in program education that includes financial preparations and information available about available clean vehicle technology types. For participants without a vehicle to scrap and will not be financing their vehicles, there must be a minimum contribution of $1,000 to their clean vehicle purchase or lease. Participants must maintain ownership of the newer vehicle in California for a minimum of 30 months and to participate in program surveys. Next slide, please. Both retired and or scrap and replacement vehicles will also have eligibility criteria that has been developed using pre-existing criteria from other CARB light-duty incentive programs. Retired vehicles must be a functioning gasoline or diesel light or medium duty vehicle under 10,000 pounds gross vehicle weight rating and be able to complete a functionality test. The retired vehicle must also be 2009 or older and have the title issued to the registered owner. For replacement vehicles, they may be new or used and must have had been purchased or leased in California through an authorized dealership. For new vehicles, they must be on the CARB list of eligible vehicles, which will be linked in the Q&A box. CARB is always working with vehicle manufacturers to put their vehicles on that list. For used vehicles, they must be 8 calendar years or newer with an odometer reading not to exceed 80,000 miles. For both new and used vehicles, there will be a maximum purchase price cap of $45,000, which does not include taxes and fees. For those needing an affordable loan, loans administered through DCAP's lending partners or through a financial institution of the applicant's choice will have an loan interest rate cap of 8%. Next slide, please. And with that, that concludes the first portion of the program eligibility criteria for DCAP. We will now go ahead and open the floor for questions and answers.
And with that, hello everyone. My name is Ashley, and I will be facilitating comments and questions this morning. We will open the floor for everyone to ask questions on anything covered so far in the presentation. If you would like to make a comment or ask a question, please use the webinar feature to raise your hand. For those using Zoom online, please click Raise Hand option on the Zoom navigation bar under the Participants tab. For those using Zoom on a mobile application, please click on the Raise Hand option in the More tab. For those who are participating by telephone, please be sure to press #2 and we will call on you accordingly. If you would like to email us a question, please send it to clean transportation incentives at arb.ca.gov, which is shown on the slide. Staff will also drop the email address in the chat for everyone. Please include your name and affiliation along with your question in your email. My colleague will monitor that email box and let us know if any questions are sent in. For those on Zoom or on the phone, once your line is open, you can begin to speak. Please state your name and affiliation, if any, before providing your comment or question. I'm seeing questions in the Q&A.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Shouldn't have had the box open, but we will answer the questions that came through here. So I'll read those off first. They're related. So Tiffany, the question from Stefano Benatti was, does it apply only to cars? Does it cover other kinds of vehicles, for example, electric motorcycles?
Yes, hi, Stefano. Thank you for your question. Yes, this DCAP does cover also a few other vehicle types, as we are looking to include zero emission motorcycles at this moment. We do not have well, not yet, but we are looking to incorporate those into the program as well. So if you do have any comments or suggestions, we do welcome them. Please feel free to email those comments and suggestions into the Clean Transportation Incentive inbox, please.
And I see Victor has their hand up. And Victor, I am going to allow you to talk.
All right. My name is, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. My name is Victor Bobier. I'm an SSI recipient, and I find the $1,000 entry fee to be a bit steep. I don't know about any other SSI user or I'm just a recipient, but I get $1,331.81 a month in 2024. So that would take 4 or 5 months for me to accumulate that much. Of course, right now, it doesn't make much difference since I already have an EV that I had to buy in December 2023 since I needed transportation. There's no bus service or any public transit here, so yeah. So how can that be fixed, or is there some what can be done about it? Thank you.
Hi, Victor. Thank you for your comments. This is Raquel Cardenas with Air Resources Board. So that specific requirement, not necessarily an entry fee, but we can't be giving away free cars, if you will. And so if somebody is coming in through the program, purchasing a vehicle, and they're financing that vehicle, they don't need to contribute $1,000. It's simply for someone who's coming in and isn't financing their vehicle.
No, I'm way past being able to actually buy a car outright. I wish I could get a rebate or whatnot existing cars, since I owe almost $9,500 on a 2015 Chevy Spark EV, and I don't even have enough range to get down to the local Chevrolet dealer in Victorville. There's no charging facilities between Barstow and Victorville, and I'm afraid of getting stranded, requiring tow.
We do really appreciate your input and your experience, and we'll definitely take that back after this work group into consideration and take a second look at that requirement.
Thank you.
I'm not seeing anybody else. Never mind, I see Rose. Hi, Rose. You should be able to talk now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay, great. I'm Rose with Hunt Motors, and I seen on the presentation that something about vehicle manufacturers. I just wanted to know more information about what that part of the presentation was about.
Right. So that part of the presentation, so in regards to the vehicle list, there is a EV list that CARB maintains of eligible vehicles. We are always working with manufacturers to get new vehicles on that list. There is a few criteria for manufacturers to meet in order to be on this list. One of my colleagues can go ahead and drop that link into the Q&A/chat box for you as a reference. And that is in regards to new vehicles only.
Okay, understood. Thank you very much for that. And I would like that link.
Okay, thank you so much for your comment, Rose. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I see Andy on the line. I'm going to allow him to talk.
Hi, yes, I'm Andy Mutziker with the Air Pollution Control District in San Luis Obispo. And I'm wondering if CARB has thought about working with the cap and trade group to see if there's a prospect of bringing in some cap and trade dollars, some public dollars that could help to on the loan side to potentially buy down some of the risk to be able to then bring the loan rates below the 8%, maybe down to more like a 5% loan rate. That might be more helpful for the participants in this program.
Andrew, thank you for your, go ahead, Raquel.
It's fine. Go for it, Tiffany.
I was about to say thank you, Andrew, for your comment. We really appreciate that. That is we are looking into other alternatives as well, but like always, we are taking suggestions and comments at any time. So we will be taking that comment back to see what we can if there's any coordination that we can do with the cap and trade team.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Pascal. I'm going to allow you to talk.
Good morning, Pascal Warren, Metro Air District. I'd like a little bit more clarification on that $1,000 entry fee for people not retiring a vehicle as part of the program. Like how and when is it paid? I'm just not clear on that aspect. Thank you.
So it's typically at the time of purchase. And again, it's for someone who isn't financing a vehicle, isn't bringing a vehicle to the program to scrap, simply because we cannot be giving free vehicles. And, you know, it's something we've done in the previous local financing assistance pilot. You know, we have Vivian Rawanji on the line. She may be able to explain that a little better than I'm at the moment. So Vivian, if you wouldn't mind unmuting and kind of going over what that requirement really entails.
Thank you, Raquel, and good morning, everyone. So the $1,000 requirement doesn't mean someone has to come out of pocket $1,000 if they want to be part of the program. The whole idea behind the $1,000 was to ensure that no one is getting a free vehicle from CARB. So for instance, if you are a low-income person and you're financing your vehicle, that satisfies the $1,000. So if, again, you're a low-income person and you're purchasing a vehicle and the vehicle is, for instance, $7,500 and your grant amount is $7,500, then that's basically you getting a free car. So the $1,000 says, okay, the vehicle will have to be a little bit more than the $7,500 so that you're actually not getting a free car. This is not a fee that anyone is paying to enter the program. So I know there is a lot of confusion around $1,000. And this is an equity program. We don't expect anyone to come out of pocket $1,000. If you're getting a loan, where most of our low-income families do get a loan, that satisfies the $1,000. It's only when the used vehicle is less than the grant amount, that's when the $1,000 comes in. And even then, we're saying that, you know, if the vehicle, for instance, is $8,000, and your grant amount is $7,500, of course, $8,000 plus the fees and all that, that would be over the $7,500. So that satisfies that. We're not looking for someone to go look for a used vehicle at $6,000 and then come to us for a grant to pay for the $6,000. So that in essence, they're getting a free car. So that is where the $1,000 comes in. And I welcome any questions to further clarify.
Pascal, did that answer your question, or was there any other follow-up you had on that?
Oh, no, that works. Thank you very much, Vivian.
We have another question from Deanna Yee. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. Deanna Yee, Bay Area Equality Management District. I had a follow-up question on the CARB list of eligible vehicles for new vehicle purchases. So it sounds like that list will apply to all new vehicle purchases. My understanding is that for the current Air District programs, at least for the Bay Area's program, that list only applies to new leases and not all new vehicle purchases. So I just wanted a little bit of background on the decision making behind that. And also just a comment that that could be a barrier to accessing some of the new vehicle models. It's at least from what I've heard, Tesla hasn't signed on for their new 2024 models to add to that current list right now. So for example, grantees would not be able to purchase new Teslas. And I'm sure there's other manufacturers that could apply to. So just wanted to highlight that.
Thanks, Deanna. Appreciate the comment. I think we can go take a look at that in terms of the distinction between leases and like leases and new purchase, and like the discrepancy between statewide clean cars for all the district programs. So I appreciate your comment. Thank you.
And Deanna, the one thing I'll add as well is our staff that maintains that list and verifies those approvals has reached out to Tesla a few times to remind them to get their information in so they can be added to the list. So we do actively reach out to manufacturers that are eligible to be on the list. And then it's up to them to get the information in so we can be adding those vehicles to the list. But thank you for that comment.
And with that, we can go on ahead to discuss the rollout plans ideas. Just to let folks know, there will also be an additional Q&A/discussion session at the end of this presentation. And with that, next slide, please. So I will go ahead and like to hand it on over to Virgil Looney, Director of the Driving Clean Assistance Program with the Community Housing Development Corporation. Virgil?
Thanks, Tiffany. Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining today. And like Tiffany said, my name is Virgil and I work for CHDC, which is a CBO based in North Richmond. I'm the director of the Driving Clean Assistance Program, and the team and I are really excited to provide some more information and updates on our progress so far. Next slide, please. These slides might look familiar to you from the last work group meeting, and I want to highlight a few key pieces as reminders. A regional rollout of the statewide expanded Driving Clean Assistance Program will help us meet our equity goals. By focusing on a regional rollout, we will start the program in areas of the state that have not benefited proportionally from CARB light-duty incentive programs in the past. We're looking at regional need and program burden, which aligns with the program's overall equity commitments and the needs-based approach that we're taking with community members who apply to the program. To help us determine where to start, we first have to identify high-need regions and then regions that experience additional burdens to participate in the program, which is what we mean by the term program burden. We will also set allocation caps for each area so that we have funds available for every region of the state, regardless of when the program is open. Next slide, please. As a reminder from our last work group meeting, we've done research on what indicators we can use to help us define and determine need. So these include population size that has an income that is at or below 300% FPL, and Tiffany mentioned that earlier with an example in the presentation. The Callan Virus Screen score provides data on an area's pollution burden and then also population characteristics. We also think it's important to consider whether or not there is a CARB light duty incentive program available to residents. And we also took a look at publicly available data on CVRP Rebate Now and CVAP, which are two previous CARB-funded light-duty incentive programs that were designed to reach lower-income residents, to see the total dollar amount of grants redeemed compared to the eligible population in specific areas. Next slide, please. And then again, in addition to need, we also want to recognize that some areas of the state face additional barriers to participate in the program. And this is what we're calling the program burden. The indicators that we reviewed are access to publicly available EV charging per capita, the distance to bar certified dismantlers, and then access to lending. So based on this analysis, we discovered that the greatest disparity for participation in the program was the distance to bar certified dismantlers. In some instances, a person might be hundreds of miles from the closest available bar dismantler. Next slide, please. Since we last met, we've continued partnering with CARB, CBOs, and the network that we're creating, and also community members to refine and improve what we shared last time. The overall approach is the same, and we're starting in areas with high need and high program burden. Given that not all areas of the state have access to a Clean Cars for All program, we want to launch the program in these areas first. The services available to an individual depend on what air district they live in, so we are aligning the regions with air district jurisdictions. This is a small change from what we proposed previously by looking at air district jurisdictions instead of county lines. In most cases, full counties are included within air districts, but there are several that are split between multiple air districts. Based on our need and program burden analysis, we're going to start in Imperial County, which is also its own air district, and then move to groups of air districts that do not have Clean Cars for All programs. This means that we can launch both program services, financing assistance, and Clean Cars for All at the same time. We made the change to align with air district jurisdictions so that we can coordinate our outreach efforts effectively, since we're starting with areas of the state that do not have Clean Cars for All, which is again defined by air district jurisdiction rather than county lines. By starting in areas of the state that do not have Clean Cars for All, we'll have more time to implement our equity-based hub and spoke outreach model in parts of the state with no CARB light duty incentive programs, and where there's less familiarity with these kinds of incentive programs. With this approach, we'll be starting in areas that face greater program burdens to participate. The most significant is the distance to bar certified dismantlers, which disproportionately impacts some areas more than others. In addition, our communication will be clearer on the available services to community members because the availability depends on the air district someone lives in rather than the county. And just more broadly, we want to support CARB's efforts of greater alignment and collaboration between CARB-funded programs by working with air districts across the state. Next slide, please. We've heard the need to ensure that statewide CARB programs have the funds to provide services statewide. Given the rolling open allows us to actualize key elements of our equity-based hub and spoke outreach model, we also need to make sure that there are funds available as the program opens across the state. We're taking a proportional approach to allocating funds by region. This means that we're looking at the population size of a county that is at or below 300% FPL and dividing it by the total number of California residents whose income are at or below 300% FPL statewide. This tells us the percentage of the total population of California residents whose income is at or below 300% FPL in a specific county. Next, we're taking this percentage and multiplying it by the amount of incentive funds available. This gives us the proportional amount of incentive funds that will be allocated to a county. Since we're following air district jurisdictions, we will combine the incentive funds allocated to counties within an air district jurisdiction. As I mentioned earlier, there are several air districts whose jurisdictions include partial coverage of a county, and in some cases, several counties. To manage this challenge, we've reviewed the population sizes of cities and towns within the partially covered counties and used this data as an estimate for the total adult population size that's at 300% FPL or below in these partially covered counties. Next slide, please. And just as a reminder, we're still going to process applications within a region using the three-tier system outlined on this slide. And so this is another way that we're ensuring that funds are available for community members who are highest priority to serve. Next slide, please. Now we're going to review the tentative regions based on air district jurisdiction and the counties they represent. This is also the opening order that we're proposing. After we go through these slides, we also have some map visuals that will help us all see the regions in a visual format. The asterisks represent when a county is split between multiple air district jurisdictions. So on this slide, we've got regions 1 through 3, and in the following slides, it's 4 through 6. And what all these regions have in common is that they do not have a Clean Cars for All program. So we're starting in these areas with both program services, financing assistance and Clean Cars for All. The order of the opening prioritizes regions of the state that face higher program burden to participate due to the long distance to bar certified dismantlers. We're starting in Imperial County, which is also its own air district, and so that's region 1. And then region 2 captures the county and air districts listed here, followed by region 3, which are captured here with the counties and corresponding air districts. And again, we're gonna see all of these out on a map in just a moment. Next slide, please. Here are regions 4 through 6. And again, these are areas of the state that do not have a Clean Cars for All program. So we'll be providing both program services here when we launch. And again, the asterisk represents when a county is split between multiple air district jurisdictions. Next slide, please. So next, we'll move to regions of the state that do have access to Clean Cars for All programs and provide financing assistance services in these regions. Regions 7 through 11 represent regions of the state that are currently covered by air districts with a Clean Cars for All program. And same thing here, that the asterisk represents when a county is split between multiple air district jurisdictions. And can we go to the next slide, please? All right, so here are the visuals and maps that I mentioned. And so these outline the regions and include target start dates for deploying our equity-based hub and spoke outreach model, and also when the application will be live. Starting outreach means that this is when CBO and partner organizations will begin implementing the outreach strategies for their regions. CHDCs will be working closely with CBOs and our other partners before the outreach launch start date to make sure the strategies are in place and needed materials are ready. Once outreach starts, that's when CBOs and partner organizations will help us in supporting community members to plan and prepare for the application live date. The application live date means that's when a person can submit a completed application for review. We will also begin training CBOs statewide in 2024, even if the application will not be live in their area. We want to build relationships with CBOs and their staff so that we can begin training them sooner rather than later. And of course, CBOs will be compensated for their staff time to participate in this training. We'll have more to share on the implementation of our equity-based hub and spoke outreach model in the future, but I just want to reiterate that regardless of when the application is going to be live in a specific region in California, we're going to start working and partnering with community-based organizations in those areas now, starting in 2024. And so for regions 1 and 2, you can see that we've got an outreach start date for Imperial in June, and then a target application live date in August. Region 2, we've got outreach starting in July, and then application live starting in September. Next slide, please. And so then here are regions 3 and 4. And so you can see that these are being staggered out month by month, with region 3 having an outreach start date of August, with an application live date of October, and then region 4 with an outreach start date of September, and then the application being live in November. Next slide. And so here, this is the final regions 5 and 6. The final being this is where we'll be. These are the final areas of the state that do not have a Clean Cars for All program. So we'll be launching financing assistance and Clean Cars for All in these areas. So in Region 5, we'll have an outreach start date being October and an application live date being December. And Region 6 is when we will have an outreach start date of November and then application live in January. Next slide, please. And so for Region 7 through 11, this is when you see the full map complete, and this is when we will be adding in the air districts that do currently have Clean Cars for All programs and be providing the financing assistance services, beginning outreach in Q1 of 2025, and then the application being live in Q1 of 2025. And next slide, please. So given that we're launching the program in areas of the state that have not had equitable access to CARB programs, we recognize that there are some unknowns. As the program launches, we're going to be tracking redemption rates by region and also to see what additional support an area might need. So this could include more outreach efforts, additional case management support, and then also additional incentive funding. And so this concludes the update on our end from CHDC on where we are at the moment. Thanks everyone for your attention, and I think if we can go to the next slide, this is when we're open for comments and questions. Thanks you all.
Hello everyone, my name is Ashley, and I'll be facilitating comments and questions this afternoon. We will open the floor for everyone to ask questions about anything covered so far in the presentation. If you would like to make a comment or ask a question, please use the webinar feature to raise your hand. For those using Zoom online, please click on the raise hand option on the Zoom navigation bar under the participation tab. For those using Zoom on a mobile application, please click on the raise hand option in the More tab. For those who are participating by telephone, please be sure to press #2 and we will call on you accordingly. If you would like to email us a question, please send it to cleantransportationincentives@arb.ca.gov, which is shown on the slide. Staff will also drop the email address in the chat for everyone. Please include your name and affiliation along with your question in your email. My colleague will monitor that email box and let us know if there are any questions that are sent in. For those on Zoom or on the phone, once your line is open, you can begin to speak. Please state your name and affiliation, if any, first before providing your comment or question. Brian Dodds, we are unmuting your line. Please remember to state your name and affiliation.
Good morning. My name is Brian Dodds. I'm with the San Joaquin Valley Air District. Appreciate the info today. I know you talked about the formula for deciding how much each kind of county area might get, but is there a table that shows like exactly what that looks like across the state?
Hey Brian. No, we don't have a table to show that today.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Hi, Miguel Martinez. I'm going to unmute your line.
Hi, this is Miguel Martinez with Go Power EV. Can you put a link to this presentation in the chat?
Hi, Miguel. Thank you for your comment. We will go ahead and drop this into the chat. Just as an FYI, this is not yet ADA accessible, so we will be following up with an updated copy with that ADA accessibility. And it should be in the chat now. Thank you.
What I want to reiterate is, I know this is the first time a lot of you are seeing this rollout plan, and you need some time to digest. That is totally fine. This isn't the last time you'll be able to provide comment or ask questions about it. So as we have on this screen and as at the end of the presentation, we have email contact information if you would like to follow up with this after, to provide additional comments, or if you have questions that arise. We will have our Clean Transportation Incentives email address here, and then at the end we'll have direct email contacts to the staff. And I just want to do a quick check. Did we get any questions or comments in our Clean Transportation Incentives inbox?
No.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Let's give folks another minute or two before we can move on to the next section. Again, folks, please do keep in mind we do have another opportunity to share comments and questions. So please, by all means, just take some time, think about it, and then we can always return. And as always, our contact information will be present at the very end of this presentation.
Hello, Jay Friedland. I'm going to allow you to talk.
Great. Hi, this is Jay Friedland from Zero Motorcycles. I actually did send this in via email, but I'll just ask it live. For regions that have existing CC4A programs, there have been enough program modifications to CC4A overall. Are, like, for example, the inclusion of additional vehicles like electric motorcycles. Will those programs change sooner? Will they have program modifications allowed to allow those additional vehicles in 2024, or is that also going to happen in 2025?
Hi, Jay. This is Tiffany. I just wanted to ask a clarifying question. Are you asking if are we continuing to work with manufacturers throughout the process, or are we looking to continue? Is it going to be more of an open close process? Just asking a clarifying question.
Sure. No, I actually, no, I know you guys are working with manufacturers and we're certifying new models and everything, but no, it's more, when will, for example, Bay Area or South Coast or some of the other larger air districts, the CC4A has changed and has new eligibility. Can any of those programs take advantage sooner along, for allowing additional vehicle eligibility, like this summer, for example, as opposed to waiting till next year?
Hi, Jay. This is Aaron Hilliard. Yes, the answer to that question is yes. This presentation is specifically focused on the DCAP program, which is the statewide offering of Clean Cars for All and financing assistance. Each air district Clean Cars for All program is we've adopted the changes for zero emission motorcycles at the last funding plan hearing. And so each district is, kind of on their own timeline in terms of, when those offerings are available. But the answer to your question is yes, the timeline that we're presenting today doesn't represent the timeline for each specific Clean Cars for All implementing air district.
Got it. Thank you very much, Aaron and Tiffany and everybody. Much appreciated.
Thank you for your comment, Jay.
We have a question from the email from Jamie D. How are CBOs supporting the Drive Clean Assistance Program eligibility and enrollment process with the air quality management districts? CAP OC sees over 16,000 residents from disadvantaged and low-income communities located in Orange County, California.
Thank you for your question, Jamie. So how CBOs can support AQ&Ds as well as CHDC in a multiple different ways. We really do encourage you to reach out to your respective AQ&D and or CHDC to see how you can be a part of this coordination effort. We will always more than welcome to continue our partnerships with CBOs, and we always do stress that we do listen and we do hear from you all. So thank you. Okay. I think we can go on ahead to move on to the next section of this presentation. And then again, folks, we will also open the presentation up at the very end for additional comments and questions. So this is not your only opportunity. Next slide, please. Thank you again, Virgil. And so with that, we will go ahead and transition on over to the Clean Cars for All Assembly Bill 630 report and goals. Next slide, please. The AB 630 report is a legislatively mandated report that captures metrics enabling CARB and the air districts to continuously utilize stakeholder and participant feedback to fine-tune the Clean Cars for All program. This year's AB 630 report will be released as part of the funding plan in November as an appendix. To provide a district program status update, all district programs, including San Diego's, is now open and are taking applications. To date, Clean Cars for All has funded over more than 20,000 vehicle replacement projects and has allocated around $464 million, including a $14 million allocation for the fiscal year 23-24 for districts and another $14 million allocation for fiscal years 23-24 for the DCAP program. Next slide, please. As mentioned in a previous slide, the AB 630 report is often known as the Evaluation and Goal-Setting Report and informs the long-term direction of CC4A while utilizing data-driven goal setting. This report supplements other long-term plans such as the 3-year plan for zero-emission vehicle incentives and has provided guidance in the development and implementation of DCAP and will continue to play a role in the fine-tuning of both CC4A and DCAP moving forward. As this report also helps to inform both short-term and long-term goal setting, we at CARB look to stakeholders to share if there are additional factors that should be utilized in determining program goals. Next slide, please. In 2022, CARB brought forth a survey redesign after receiving feedback that surveys were open-ended, long, and generated data that was difficult to quantify and analyze, and was approved through the public process. This redesign was intended to provide multiple touch points to CC4A participants and to share their feedback with CARB, enabling more opportunities to fine-tune the program and to be responsive to external factors such as market conditions, vehicle availability, and others. Districts have since deployed these new redesigned surveys, and CARB will be conducting analyses using these surveys. Next slide, please. And with that, that concludes this portion of the presentation. We will now go ahead and open it for a Q&A session. Next slide.
Hello, everyone. My name's Ashley, and I will be facilitating comments and questions. We will open the floor for everyone to ask questions about anything covered so far in the presentation. If you would like to make a comment or ask a question, please use the webinar feature to raise your hand. For those using Zoom online, please click on the raised hand option on the Zoom navigation bar under the participation tab. For those using Zoom on a mobile application, please click on the raise hand option on the More tab. For those who are participating by telephone, please be sure to press #2 and we will call on you accordingly. If you'd like to email us a question, please send it to cleantransportationincentives@arb.ca.gov, which is shown on the slide. Staff will also drop the email address in the chat for everyone. Please include your name and affiliation along with your question in your email. My colleague will monitor the email box and let us know if any questions are sent in. For those on Zoom or on your phone, once your line is open, you can begin to speak. Please state your name and affiliation first before providing your comment or question.
Okay. Looks like there are no comments or questions at this time. Again, folks, please do feel free to reach out to us at any time. And with that, you could go ahead and move on to our next steps. Next slide, please. So again, folks, thank you for your comments and questions. Again, our contact information will be at the end of this presentation. Next slide, please. As for next steps, based off of the feedback that we have received today, both CARB and CHDC will incorporate feedback into the rollout plan for DCAP, program eligibility criteria, and the AB 630 report, and are always available to receive additional feedback after this work group. Additionally, CARB and CHDC will continue to work towards program launch. And with that, contact information will be presented on the next slide. You may contact myself, Tiffany Nguyen, or Michael Litwin, lead staff over at CARB with our email addresses listed above, as well as the team email, cleantransportationincentives@arb.ca.gov. Additionally, you may sign up for DCAP updates as to when launch will occur in your region via the DCAP website that we will also drop into the Q&A box. Please do expect that this website will be continuing to expand as launch approaches. And with that, we appreciate your time and thoughts. Please have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you, everybody.